Could you imagine the type of sex these nerds were having? Just like the most awkward sex, kind of like they're all virgins, don't know what they're doing except they're not virgins. Sam Bankman-Fried's been arrested. Yeah, they got him in the Bahamas. So here's the funniest part of Sam Bankman-Fried just being arrested. Earlier in that day, he predicted he would not be arrested. Then later that afternoon, he got arrested. It's like, shocker. Turns out he was wrong about something. He has quite the talent for being wrong about things. So Sam Bankman-Fried's been arrested in the Bahamas at his, dork sex orgy penthouse. And he's been charged with 8 different criminal charges. There's a very fishy thing amongst all the other fishy things. I'll share with you that in a second. But first, let's do the rundown of how the whole FTX scandal started. Started with someone saying, hey, why don't y'all give us your money that has inherent value, and in exchange, we'll give you pretend money. And we'll build the value of this pretend money based on our idea to get everybody else to want our pretend money. And that's going to improve the value. That's going to be very secure, won't it? And that was in 1933 when the Federal Reserve went off the gold standard. Then a few years later in 2021, Sam Bankman-Fried had a similar idea where he said, hey, why don't y'all give me your pretend money that has no value, and I'll give you other pretend money that has even less value. And then, by the way, I'll use your money and I'll use that as my money, even though I'm not supposed to. And I'll make huge political donations with it. You know, I'll be the second largest donor, just behind George Soros to the Democrats, which kind of makes you the donor because I'm using your money to make the donations, but who really cares? We'll donate money to Ukraine. They're going to send it back. We're going to then filter that to the Democrats. But this is just what we're doing here, guys. So that all comes crashing down. Here's the interesting part and some predictions. One question is, what happens to Sam Bankman-Fried? I'll give you that prediction in a second. But first, here's an interesting fishy part. Sam Bankman-Fried arrested on Monday. Cool. He was set to testify before a congressional committee in U.S. Congress on Tuesday, which he was going to do via video correspondence because he said, hey guys, I can't show up. Schedule's pretty busy. I've got a nerd orgy to be in the afternoon, and then I got to do amphetamines all day, so I can't show up in person. We're going to do this via video. And they said, okay, anything for you, Sam. You've given us tens of millions of dollars, 40 million to be exact, just this year, so it's, anything you want. By the way, the nerd orgies they had in Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX penthouse headquarters, where apparently 10 employees and executives for FTX were all in a polyamorous sexual relationship. Could you imagine the type of sex these nerds were having? Just like the most awkward sex, kind of like they're all virgins, don't know what they're doing except they're not virgins. Nobody's making eye contact. All the guys are like playing video games while they're doing each other dorky style because playing Zelda is the only thing that can give them a boner. I think the world deserves to see that footage. We need to see what these nerd orgies were like because we've been defrauded. And in order for justice to be served, we want to see what the nerd orgies actually look like. So here's a prediction. I don't think anything big happens to him. Now, I don't think that's because the pathway of justice has nothing big happening to him. With these 8 criminal charges, he faces up to 115 years in prison if convicted. But here's why I don't think anything big will happen to him. Some ceremonial slaps on the wrist, throw him out under the bus in ways so other politicians and high-ranking horrible people can have their butts saved. Yeah, they'll do some of that. But why I don't think justice will really be served is he's literally bought and paid for so many politicians. Maxine Waters, a Democrat leftist from California, she's heading up the Congressional Investigative Committee. He's donated big to her party. There's a picture, you may have seen it, picture of her with her arm around him. There's a picture of her blowing him a kiss from last year. This is the person in charge of investigating him. So by all rights, we could say Maxine Waters and so many other of the Democrats that he has funded, they're literally on his team. That's kind of like a NFL team. Player gets caught with steroids. The league says justice needs to be served. And the head coach of that team says, hey, I'll do the investigation. Let's see what I find. And I think he'd do a good job of finding exactly what he's looking for. And what he's looking for is specifically nothing. So unfortunately, and I hope my prediction's wrong, but unfortunately with the way corrupt politicians work, and unfortunately how the court systems are, in my delusional opinion, fairly corrupt, I just don't think the track record that we've seen will allow justice to truly be served. Secondary prediction. If Sam Bankman-Fried has incriminating stuff on politicians, I'm not making allegations. I'm just speaking theoretically. I truly don't know that this is the case. Hypothetically, if some of the politicians that were involved with him were also involved in illegal activity, which, by the way, the whole thing he was doing was illegal, not only in terms of how he was running FTX, but how he was donating to different campaigns. A lot of that was actually illegal. He was making donations from him, but in other people's names. And by the way, the donations from him weren't even from him. They were with FTX users' funds, which is illegal for him to use for his own purposes. So if some of those politicians were involved in illegal activities, which how were they not? I would predict they'll do anything to save their butt. Even if that means Sam Bankman-Fried, Epstein himself, getting a listing on the Clinton body count, if you will. Security cameras were off and man, he took his own life. The Canadian government would like that. That is a valid medical treatment he just did on himself. He must have had a sprained ankle. He treated himself with Canada's #1 medical treatment. So prediction number 1 is he doesn't face anything severe relative to the severity of his crimes. Prediction number 2 is I think there's a possibility he gets Epsteined because a lot of these people are evil. They don't care about anybody other than themselves. I don't even think they care about themselves. I think they care about their image of who they think they are and the powerful person they're portraying themselves as. I think that actually is rooted in self-hate. I don't think they actually care about themselves, and they certainly don't care about other people. I'm talking about the politicians. That's my prediction. Here's another hilarious part. Sam Bankman-Fried, he has talked about how he wants to start another business. He hopes he gets that opportunity so he can repay people who have had their money lost. Wouldn't you love to be at the investor pitch meetings for that next business that this dude wants to start? It's like, all right, Sam, give me your pitch. All right, guys, as you know, I've got a proven track record of illegally taking people's money, but then I lose it all. So here's what I want to do next time. We're going to basically do that, but not get caught. Sam, where do I sign up? The guy, he's so, I don't know, disconnected from reality. I don't know if he's on like a spectrum where he doesn't have self-awareness, doesn't have social awareness of how he's being seen and the realities of him being realized. But you have to have a complete lack of awareness to be like, hey, I just, committed one of the biggest fraud schemes in U.S. history. And I would like to start another business. Who's with me? No one? Tom Brady? Who? Anybody with me? It's pretty hilarious. So with that said, that's the latest. Sam Bankman-Fried has been arrested. Spoiler alert. Allegedly, he is still set to do the testimony in front of Congress via the video conference, even though he's held in the Bahamian jail in the Bahamas, if you will. I think that remains to be seen, because why I think that part's fishy is supposed to testify in front of Congress, but then he's arrested the day before. Get a little conspiratorial. Is that a way to shut him up so that what he was going to say during those hearings doesn't see the light of day. Are politicians trying to cover their own butt through silencing him? Hey, we're going to arrest him, throw him in the Bahama jail. He's still going to testify, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, let's say that. But then something's just going to happen and, whatever. Bad internet connection at the Bahamas jail. I don't know. That's conspiratorial. But we live in a reality where just because something's a conspiracy doesn't mean it's not true. So hopefully he still does testify, but if he doesn't, my eyebrows will be raised. That's all I'll say. That's the latest on Sam Bankman-Fried. I think he is a great example for you and I to learn from, so we can simply be better than him. With that said, I appreciate you watching the JP Reacts channel, where we love to call out the lies, corruption, and hypocrisy of tyrants, call out woke absurdities, as well as highlighting the amazing work of other freedom fighters. But before you go, if you don't know, I would love to invite you to join my Freedom Lovers community on Locals. You can go to jpsears.locals.com or hit the link in the description. My Freedom Lovers community, it's free to join. Everything's uncensored, gives you a community of like-minded and like-hearted freedom lovers, completely uncensored. That's a place where I share resources that I can't share anywhere else. You also get behind the scenes with me, and once you're there, a member, if you choose to become a paid supporter, which costs less than a cup of chicken feed every month, you unlock even more exclusive content. With the supporters, I do weekly behind the scenes fireside chat live streams where I'm interacting with the questions, comments, all that. It's a dialogue with the Freedom Lovers community. But nonetheless, if you want to join as a supporter or just join as a member, I would be honored to have you. You can hit up jpsears.locals.com or hit the link in the description. If you'd like to be there, I'd love to see you there behind the scenes. And until next time on this channel, stay free, my friend.